What's going on, guys? Welcome in. I am Kadarius Washington, and this is the Sports Rundown. It's a pleasure to have you guys in as always, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again, and also follow me on Twitter and on Bluesky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to get into today. We got to give you a little NBA rundown. We had some action last night between my Celtics and my Knicks. We'll get into that. We got a little bit of NFL with the schedule release, and of course, Brock Purdy getting a new contract. We'll get into that. We'll do a little hockey rundown for you. We will get into that there. Juan Soto made his return to Yankee Stadium for their whole rivalry week. We'll do a little baseball for you. And the PGA Championship, really, the only thing you need to know about is a lot of the big names like Rory McIlroy kind of got off to a little bit of a rough start here, and of course through the from the end of day one into day two, a lot of these names here: Johnny Vegas, Matthew Pavone, Michael Thorpe Jensen, Max Homa, who I'm familiar with, and then Ryan Gerard. I mean, just about all of them outside of Homa. I mean, I wouldn't know these guys honestly if they were sitting in my living room. I mean, of course, the story with Alex Smalley being the Duke grad and the Greensboro, North Carolina native. But right now, as far as day three of the PGA Championship is concerned, you got Johnny Vegas, like I said, with 8 under through the second round, and then you've got Fitzpatrick, Kim, and Pavon tied with the second place, and then you've got Scheffler and Homa tied at the fifth there. So there's your little PGA Championship rundown for you there, and then also we'll give you a quick little preview of the Preakness that's going to be run later today. But we're going to start with the NBA and, of course, what happened last night. Well, folks, it happened. My Boston Celtics were officially sent packing last night. 119-81 at the hands of the New York Knicks. Series over, title defense over. I mean, like I said earlier in the week, folks, all the credit in the world goes to the New York Knicks. This was a team that lived for the moment and a team that responded when they absolutely needed to. I mean, last night, having four players in double digits: Mikal Bridges with 22, OG Anunoby with 23, Carl Anthony Towns with 21, and Jalen Brunson with 23, and Josh Hart. How about Josh Hart? A triple double, putting up 10, 11, and 11. And I believe I saw a stat saying that he was the third Nick in playoff history to put up a triple double, which is absolutely insane. And long story short, folks, this was not a game. This was a beatdown. I mean, again, you got to give credit to the Knicks. They've been absolutely incredible all series long. Jalen Brunson's been an absolute stud all postseason, and they've gotten a whole bunch of other contributions when they needed it, like what I said with Hart and Anunoby and Bridges. I mean, this New York Knicks team, I mean, they've been banging at the door for a long time. I mean, many, many years of faulty and failure. And now this team has finally gotten through to the Eastern Conference Final for the first time in a quarter of a century. Of course, going up against the Pacers as the Knicks, of course, are looking for revenge after getting ousted last year by this Pacer team. Now, look, the Knicks had a lot of injuries going into that postseason last year, and eventually it became too much to overcome. But this Knicks team is healthy, and I believe we're going to get a very entertaining series against the Pacers, two young stars with Halliburton and Brunson, and we'll get into a little bit more of that later with the Pacers. And of course, as a Celtic fan, I'm not going to be rooting for the Knicks. I'm going to be rooting for the Pacers, but still, you got to give credit to the New York Knicks for capitalizing in this series. As for my Boston Celtics, I mean, I can't say it enough, folks. I mean, this was their series to win. This was their series to win. Of course, gagging away the first two games of the series, and then of course, that game three win, and then going up 3-1. I mean, going down 3-1, excuse me. And of course, in game four, you had Jason Tatum, and then of course in game four, you had Jason Tatum, who was having the best game of the series. Ironically enough, the Knicks having their best game of the series, and then Tatum going down with that Achilles injury. And pretty much the general belief, and I agree too, even if Tatum was healthy, we probably go down 3-1 anyway. But the Celtics, they're going to be going into the offseason with a lot of questions and a lot of what ifs. And there's a lot of smoke that this is going to be the last time we're going to see this particular core together, because I saw in an article from Yahoo Sports that the Celtics are already committed to $228 million in contracts next season. They're nearly $20 million over the second apron, and that's addressing free agents to be such as Al Horford and Luke Cornett. And the team is currently projected to have a $238 million luxury tax bill, which would push the team closer to a $500 million total if the roster was maintained. Now, listen, going back to that game five real quick, you had Derek White with 34 points and 7 threes, having 30 points off the bench, and then Luke Cornett, who I just mentioned, having those 7 blocks. And then in game six, pretty much everybody was a no-show. I mean, Jaylen Brown, yeah, he had 20 points, but Al Horford had only 10 points. Drew Holiday only 4. Derek White with only 8. And Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, I know he had that illness, but he better have a pretty good reason of why he was bad in this series. I mean, Kristaps Porzingis was terrible in this series. He was just plain bad this series. I know he had the illness, so but other than that, he better have a pretty good reason as to why he was so bad as far as the series is concerned. Now, like I said, I know there was that report saying that he had trouble breathing, but Kristaps Porzingis, nevertheless, he was terrible in that series. And as far as the roster is concerned, I would anticipate them keeping Brown and Tatum. I still believe they find a way to keep Derek White and Drew Holiday, and of course, tying up Kristaps Porzingis. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, pretty much anything goes. I mean, I said if we lost this series, Joe Mazzulla was probably gonna get fired, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, anything is possible, but the Celtics, I mean, it's one thing to lose that game, but it's another thing to get absolutely shellacked, absolutely embarrassed in the game. I mean, this game was not competitive as far as it's concerned, but nevertheless, an incredible job by the Knicks and the Boston Celtics. I really feel, and I said this earlier this week, I really feel like more it was Boston beating themselves, especially blowing those two games, those first two games of the series where we had those 20-point leads. And then, of course, Jason Tatum going down. That was pretty much the death blow as far as my Celtics are concerned. But nevertheless, we get Pacers Knicks in the Eastern Conference Final, and I gotta say, how good has this Pacer team been? I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, absolutely incredible, getting all of these contributions from Mathurin, what's his face, Benedict Mathurin, and of course Miles Turner and everybody. I mean, absolutely destroying the Cleveland Cavaliers in 5 games. I mean, it's an incredible team, and like I said, this Pacer team is going to be very dangerous as far as the series and as far as progressing is concerned. But at the same time in that series, I mean, I know Cleveland had injuries, but that was an embarrassing series by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, outside of game three, for a team that went 64-18 in the regular season, they did not look a thing like that in this series. I mean, not only did they lose the series in 5 games, they went 0-3 at home. They were 34-7 at home in the regular season, and they couldn't win a game at home in this series, which is absolutely pathetic. Of course, you can point to the Cavaliers choking away that 7-point lead with less than a minute left in game two and getting absolutely punked in game three, and then win a whole 8 minutes without a made field goal in game five. Now that was rough for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then Jared Allen in the last 2 games went absolutely ghost. And then you had that report too in game five with Max Strus, Texas player, saying, if you don't believe, don't show up for work, just to go 0 for 9 from the field in the game. You can't be doing that. And say what you want. This was a choke job in game five from the Cleveland Cavaliers, shooting the ball 39% from the field and then 26% from three. Now, listen, this was a Cavs team. Now, listen, I don't know if we're going to see this particular core of Cavs team again. I mean, they've got some, just like the Celtics, they've got some free agency stuff to address. But the thing is, this is a team that kind of does need some veteran leadership in that locker room. And I feel like, I mean, they're really, really close. But like I said, they need some veteran leadership. And of course, like I said earlier this week, you got to feel sick for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the dude absolutely balled out this series, playing through injuries. And of course, the narrative with him never making it past the second round in his career. I mean, you got to feel for the guy, honestly. You got to feel for him. And also, we had another team getting sent on vacation. The Golden State Warriors losing in 5 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, this is a Warriors team, folks, that is a huge what if. I mean, Steph Curry, of course, balling out of his mind, of course, going down with that hamstring injury, and I kind of called it, folks, from the way that Golden State was looking, that a game 6 wasn't going to be necessary, and lo and behold, that was the case there. And this was a game where they needed playoff Jimmy Butler, and boy, oh boy, did they not get that. I mean, 17 points, shooting 4 for 11 from the field. Draymond Green also going 4 for 11 from the field with 10 points. And Buddy Hield was an absolute no-show, which was exactly what the Warriors did not need. Only 8 points there. And Jonathan Kuminga, to his credit, had 26 points, was the only really, him and Pajemski were the only really productive players as far as the Warriors were concerned. Julius Randle, I can't say enough of how phenomenal and how incredible he's been in this postseason, having 29 points, and then Anthony Edwards with 22. This Minnesota Timberwolves team is going to be very, very dangerous as we head into the Western Conference Final going into next week. And then, of course, you have the Game 7 on Sunday. It's an off night for the NBA today. You've got the Game 7 between the Oklahoma City and Denver. And, of course, we got the news yesterday that Aaron Gordon was a question mark, dealing with an ankle injury, I believe is what it was. Now, listen, I like OKC winning game 7 anyway, but I think that might be increasingly be the case if there's no Aaron Gordon for the Nuggets there. I mean, I really like how OKC has played throughout this series. Now, both teams have played absolutely great basketball throughout the series, but I really like how OKC has played. They're that fresh young team, and I really like for them to win this game 7 and head to the Western Conference Final. All right, we got a little bit of NFL to get into. Of course, the big story of yesterday, Brock Purdy getting his new contract. Brock Purdy agreeing to that a 5 year, $265 million deal. Now, honestly, I really like this deal for the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, like Purdy said at the offseason, he was looking for top of the market money. And I'm really, really glad that Brock Purdy got this deal. And I like it for the 49ers as far as a money standpoint. And of course, he stays at the top of the market, getting that top of the market money as he was mentioning, like I said a while ago. But I really love that Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, who has been absolutely phenomenal, getting his money there. All right, so we got a little bit of schedule release to get into as the NFL released their schedule earlier this week. And of course, the big story with that too, opening night, we get Eagles Cowboys opening night. And one thing that I really didn't think about when looking into it, the Eagles on banner night getting ready to unveil that banner in front of the Cowboys and their fans. Oh my goodness, that is gonna be something there. The NFL, they definitely cook with this schedule release. They definitely cook with this thing. And on Thanksgiving, we got Green Bay going against Detroit. We got Kansas City and Dallas. Now listen, that Kansas City Dallas game on Thanksgiving, that thing really has the potential to be the highest rated game, probably the highest rated regular season game in NFL history. I mean, I can really anticipate that Kansas City Dallas game getting somewhere in the ballpark of 45 to 50 million people watching it. Of course, it's Thanksgiving and of course it's the Cowboys, but when you put the Chiefs into it and of course the Swifties down there in Kansas City, I mean, that is going to be a monster game, monster rating. And then, of course, the nightcap, you have Cincinnati taking on Baltimore. And then that Black Friday game, you got the Bears taking on Philadelphia. And then the Christmas games, which they absolutely cooked there too. You got Dallas taking on Washington. You've got Detroit taking on Minnesota. And then you've got Kansas City and Denver. And of course, the NFL with those great games on Christmas, trying to bounce back from those absolutely disastrous games last year with the Chiefs and Steelers, where Russell Wilson looked like a deer in headlights, and then that Raven Texan game where the Texans couldn't find the end zone if they were standing in it. But nevertheless, I mean, I said this a while ago on my Twitter. The NBA, Christmas does not belong to the NBA anymore. The NFL, I mean, obviously the NFL is king, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, they are definitely stepping on the NBA as far as Christmas is concerned. And Christmas has been the NBA's holiday. I mean, just like how the NFL has Thanksgiving, the NBA has Christmas. And of course, the NFL deciding, you know what, we're going to take that too. So, and of course, it's on Christmas on a Thursday, and so we knew about the triple header along with the two Netflix games, and of course, they had to give Allen Herbie a good game. So there we go there with Kansas City and Denver, and my Carolina Panthers actually have a primetime game too. I believe that's week 12 against San Francisco. That's a Monday nighter, and of course, the story with that being Christian McCaffrey in that revenge game. And honestly, now I know I might be a little selfish when it comes to my Panthers, but I thought we were gonna get maybe two or probably stretching at three primetime games from how we look. But the Jets getting two games and knowing that the Jets are gonna stink. I mean, the Jets always stink, but the Jets getting two primetime games, which we'll get to in a second. But I thought the Panthers were going to get more than one. I mean, it's good they're getting the primetime exposure, but I thought we were going to get maybe a couple more. But as far as primetime games are concerned, the Chiefs, of course, America's sweethearts, America's darlings, getting seven, the most of anybody. Week 1 against the Chargers, the Brazil game. on Friday night, which is going to be on YouTube. And I believe the NFL is trying to set the record for most streamed game in NFL history. And then on week 3, they got the Giants on a Sunday night. They got Jacksonville week 5 on a Monday night. They got Detroit on week 6, which is a Sunday night, which is going to be an absolutely incredible game. They got the Commanders in week 8 on a Monday night. They got the Texans week 14 on Sunday night. And then they got the Broncos week 17 on Christmas night. And like I said, the Chiefs have 7 games. The Dallas Cowboys have 6 primetime games. The Dolphins, Chargers, Eagles, Commanders, Lions, Falcons, and Niners all have 5 primetime games. Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, Texans, Broncos, Packers, Vikings, Buccaneers, Rams, Seahawks have 4. Patriots, Raiders, Giants, Bears have 3. The Jets and the Cardinals have 2. The Colts, Jaguars, and Panthers each have 1. And of course, the Titans, Browns, and Saints each having 0, which out of all the teams, the Titans, I thought they would maybe get 1. Of course, bringing in Cam Ward, the number 1 pick, coming out of Miami. But nevertheless, the Chiefs always, I mean, everybody wants to see the Chiefs and they move the needle. But it was very interesting to see the Titans as well not getting any primetime games. Now we know the Browns are gonna stink. We know the Saints are gonna stink. But nevertheless, I mean, kind of a little bit as expected as far as the schedule release is concerned, as we definitely progress here as far as the NFL offseason is concerned. And another story that I want to get into as well. So we also got the news from in a book that Caleb Williams apparently didn't want to go to the Bears. And along with that, the book saying that Caleb Williams was the only one in the film room watching film as far as the Bears are concerned. Now, listen, we know the Bears are definitely a poverty franchise too. I mean, they have not had a franchise quarterback since Sid Luckman. Look him up, kids. And they've never had a quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards in a season. And of course, you had Matt Eberflus last year blowing games on national holidays. But listen, I mean, this was kind of something. This was kind of something to find out too. And credit the Bears too, of course, with Williams saying that he didn't want to go, and then Ryan Poles pretty much telling him, "Too bad, we're drafting you anyway." I mean, it's been a long, long time since we saw the situation going back to Eli Manning, when he and of course his father Archie Manning, who played in the NFL, refused to play for San Diego, where Eli was originally drafted from, and then trading him to the Giants. And we really don't see a whole lot of that in sports, really. And of course, the Bears there now with Ben Johnson at the helm. So hopefully we'll see a little bit something better from the Bears. And of course, the Bears getting all these primetime games. I'll put it like this. The Bears better not stink this year. They better not stink, because they're getting a lot of primetime games. The schedule makers are always high on the Chicago Bears, just to eventually disappoint later in the season. So like I said, man, the Bears better not stink as far as the NFL is concerned and the schedule. All right, I'm going to do a little hockey potpourri for you. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. Of course, we have game 6 tonight between the Jets and the Dallas Stars. And of course, the story there, Mikko Rantanen and of course Mikael Grunin. I believe I got the dude's name right. Let me pull up the game here for game one. Yeah, Grunland with the hat trick last night. Well, not last night. Shoot. That was on Tuesday night, and then of course you had Mikko Rantanen with those back-to-back hat tricks as far as the postseason is concerned. I really like the Stars to win tonight. I mean, game 6 on their home ice. And of course, last night we had Florida and Toronto, and of course the Maple Leafs forcing a game 7 in that series. Now, I was concerned about the Maple Leafs. Of course, you know their history, not of course not winning a championship since 1967, and a whole lot of choking failures there. Now, like I said, the Maple Leafs historically have been a choking hazard, but I really like that they forced this game 7 against Florida. And of course, I'm definitely rooting for the Maple Leafs, of course, with all the history with that franchise, to go ahead and get things done there. And speaking of done, the Vegas Golden Knights are done as far as their postseason run is concerned, as the Edmonton Oilers took care of them pretty handily, of disposing of them in 5 games. Now, listen, of course, the story of the it's the story of hockey definitely would be if Connor McDavid, the best player in the world, would go ahead and raise the Stanley Cup. I mean, of course, coming close to it last year with the Oiler team and the history of that Oiler franchise. So that would be a very interesting thing there to see Edmonton win and McDavid get that Stanley Cup. Of course, winning the Conn Smythe last year in the Stanley Cup final, and then you had the Canes, the Hurricanes disposing of the Capitals pretty quickly in 5 games as well, ending that magic carpet ride season with Alex Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's goal record. All right, a little baseball to get into. Of course, we had the rivalry week, and the big story of that one, Juan Soto making his long-awaited return to Yankee Stadium. Of course, helping lead the Yankees to the World Series last year in a pretty quiet game as far as Soto is concerned. 0 for 2 with 3 walks. Now, listen, I really think if there is a time for Juan Soto to go ahead and get things going, it's definitely this series here against the Yankees. I know the Yankees crowd was absolutely electric as far as that's concerned, but nevertheless, and also no tribute video, and which is good, which I like, because not every single return in sports needs a tribute video. But I do anticipate we do get a pretty decent Juan Soto game as we go into the series, which has so far been a relatively quiet year as far as Juan Soto is concerned. But I definitely anticipate him getting things going, whether today or tomorrow. And then the Atlanta Braves finally going over 500 for the first time this season as they take care of the Red Sox. And I was looking at the division standings, and I was looking at which divisions are the best in baseball. And I think right now, looking at it, you would have to say that the best division as far as baseball is concerned is the American League West, as it's a pretty close race there, pretty much with the Mariners with a game and a half lead over the Astros, and then them and the Rangers, and then the A's pretty much bunched up there. And of course, the Angels being in the back as far as 18-25 is concerned with the record. The AL Central, the Detroit Tigers right now with the best record in baseball with 30-15, pretty sizable lead, 4.5 games over the Guardians. And then, of course, in the American League East, you have the Yankees with a 5-game lead over the Red Sox. And then, of course, in the NL East, you have the Mets and the Phillies and the Braves, who are pretty much going at it. My Nationals, we still stink, but we got that win yesterday over the O's, who have been really, really bad as far as the season is concerned. And then in the National League Central, you had the Cubs and the Cardinals over 500 there. Now, listen, I believe baseball is better when both the Cubs and the Cardinals are good. And of course, the Cardinals yesterday getting that win over the Royals, and then the Cubs absolutely dismantling the White Sox. And that's pretty much what this rivalry week has been, just a whole lot of the different regional rivalries. It's not Yankees, Red Sox, it's not Cubs, Cardinals, it's not necessarily Mets and Phillies, but it's a lot of the regional matchups. And then, of course, in the NL West, you have the, of course, pretty good division over there too, with the Dodgers with that 1 game lead over the Padres, and then the Giants and the Diamondbacks trailing those two, and of course the Rockies with 7 games, who have won only 7 games, which is absolutely pathetic as far as the baseball is concerned. All right, one more thing that I want to get into is the Preakness that's going on later today. And of course, earlier this week, I gave you my take on Sovereignty, the Kentucky Derby winner, who, of course, is not going to be racing. And I said if Sovereignty was healthy and good to go, which I would want to think he is, then to go ahead and try for at least the Triple Crown here in the Preakness, but at the same time, spacing it out to the first week in June for the Preakness and then the first week in July for the Belmont. Not really a bad idea either, but we're going to go ahead and give you the odds and a little preview of the Preakness as far as that's concerned. Number one, we've got goal oriented, the Bob Baffert horse at 6-1. We got Journalism, the 8-5 favorite, who finished second in the Kentucky Derby a couple of weeks ago. He's number two. Number three, we've got American Promise at 15-1. We've got Heart of Honor, which is 12-1. We've got Pay Billy at 20-1. River Thomas at 9-2. You've got Sandman at 4-1. You've got Clever Again at 5-1, and then you've got Gosker at 20-1. And a little interesting note about the Preakness: you've got 4 of the last 6 winning trainers going into this race. Of course, Baffert winning in 2023 with National Treasure. You've got Michael McCarthy with Journalism, who won in 2021 with Rombauer. You've got American Promise with D. Wayne Lucas. And Lucas, of course, winning last year with Seize the Gray. And then you've got Mark E. Cass with Sandman, who won in 2019 with War of Will. I really like American Promise as far as the Preakness is concerned, and also finding out that he's sired by Justify, the latest Triple Crown winner back in 2018. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take American Promise to go ahead and win the Preakness. Well, folks, we've had a pretty decent sports weekend so far with the Mets and the Yankees and of course, the NBA. We've got Game 7 of the Nuggets and the Thunder, of course, with the Maple Leafs and the Panthers. And then we've got the Preakness today, Game 6 of Jets and Stars, and also the WNBA season tipping off yesterday. As you see, I got my Camila Cardoso jersey on, as her and the Chicago Sky will be playing later on today at 3:30 against the Indiana Fever. And before that, you've got Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces taking on the reigning champ New York Liberty on banner night there. And of course, I gave you my preseason predictions yesterday as far as the WNBA season is concerned on the women's basketball rundown. So go ahead and check that out as well. Well, folks, that is going to do it for this edition of the Sports Rundown. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again. And also follow me on Twitter and on Bluesky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. And I will see y'all the next time. Peace.